The Blaze Radio Network. On demand.
Glenn Beck.
The Blaze Radio Network.
Planned Parenthood came out with a tweet that said, "We need a Disney princess that has had an abortion." Now, I'm just thinking that maybe we shouldn't go down that road. But that's me. Well, Deanna Falchook, she's a woman who was a Disney princess. She played Cinderella in the, I believe, Orlando park for quite a while. Thought she was in love, got pregnant, and I'll let her tell the story. But she is a Disney princess that had an abortion. And so, Planned Parenthood, here's your dream come true. Let's go to Deanna. Hi, Deanna. How are you?
Hi, Glenn. I'm doing great. Thanks.
I've read your story, and it's truly remarkable. Can you kind of outline the story about, you were 22 years old, you're working at Disney, this is your dream job, and what happens?
Mm-hmm. I was actually 18, and I was fortunate enough to get this very exclusive job as a singer in the theme park at Disney World. And what I did was I sang, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, and I loved being there. But shortly after that, I started dating this guy who was 22, and I ended up becoming pregnant. And I made the decision to have an abortion, and unexpectedly was immediately devastated, and ended up continuing to go back onto the stage, trying to sing happy songs and dance. And about 7 months later, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was devastated. And so I ended up quitting the job that I loved and breaking up with the guy and basically falling into a puddle, just trying to reconcile my decision. But the one thing that I'll have to say is that the reason why this tweet really bothered me was because I really believed that part of my decision-making process was based on old rhetoric and propaganda that Planned Parenthood has used for ages. And in my case, it was this anti-mother messaging. When I was a child, I wanted desperately to be a mom, but the messages that I constantly got back were, you can be anything you want. Why would you want to be just a mother? And, you have to wait till you become a mother, till everything's in line. And this is basically a strategic messaging. And so the people who were telling me that, it wasn't even their original thought. These were things that had been written through Margaret Sanger and other people that were trying to champion this pro-woman but anti-mother messaging. And so when I heard the tweet, I was like, oh, no, not again. So, it's, not our princesses.
Deanna, it is the part of your story that really connected with me because as a dad, I have heard my daughters struggle with that. I have heard my daughters say that. I mean, one of my daughters wanted to get married, while she was in college, and she wasn't going to. And I said, why? Why wait? There's nothing better than marriage. When you found the right person, there's nothing better. And she said, Dad, you just don't get married when you're my age. Look at everybody will look down. And in fact, her professors, when she said, because I just said to her, I can't believe my daughter just said this to me. There's nothing better. If you believe he's the one, get married. And so she did. And her professor just looked down on her when she said, hey, I'm not going to be here next week because I'm going to be getting married. The professor looked at her and said, oh, wow, okay. And this was a Catholic university.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I said, we think these are our original thoughts, but even what your daughter was saying, this has been written up on, like when we should have children, when we should form families, how many children we should have. There's a baby code written by Margaret Sanger. She wrote in the wickedness of, this is her title, The Wickedness of Creating Large Families. And she says the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its members is to kill it. I have a large family now. I've been redeemed through this. But what you're saying regarding your daughter is very true. We think that that these are our thoughts, but we're really being inundated with, strategic messaging that's going to tell us when good is evil and, evil is good, when it's not even true. We have to really start to think independently as to why we're thinking these things. And then so for them to say, let's create a princess that, has had an abortion, it made me think that they're conspiring around a table trying to rewrite these amazing stories that have been really positive for women to persevere through unplanned situations in their lives, to battle and slay dragons in order to accomplish things. When things are unplanned and unexpected, that they fight through it, and at the end of the day, they become victorious and find their destiny at the top of the castle. And so we don't need to rewrite things that women can just discontinue or not push through and battle. That creates strength and resilience and true power and empowerment to be able to look at life and say, let's move through this together and let's get through this. And that's what we learned from our princesses. And
you should be learning from the prince, if you will, that they also do the same. And the guy you were dating was not acting as a prince.
No. So he, basically knew where I could get my problem taken care of. And
is that what he said to you?
At the time, yeah, pretty much. And so I just, was lost. I didn't really know what to do. And I ended up, making this decision. And then, as I'm, curled up in a ball crying, he's out there playing, games, video games and that type of thing. But I mean, what you said about the prince is very true. I think those characters have been bashed a lot too. And the truth is that the prince came down off of the castle to find, an orphan girl in the cinders with Cinderella. So there's a lot of redeeming and amazing traits with these princes that we can learn from. But, that's not often told. There's a lot of bashing in these stories.
It is amazing to me that that stories like Cinderella are completely they're completely changed in some regard. We only focus on the fact that the prince came and rescued her, but he actually didn't. She was amazingly strong the entire time. I mean, she battled her way through an obviously death in her family, an awful stepmother. She made the best of things and was the strongest in the movie, not the prince. The prince fell in love with her, I think, because she was strong. And yet that's not the message that we are told Cinderella is about. No. And it's so true. We see the sparkly icon with, the glitter, but what I'm writing a book called The Cinderella Mindset, and the one thing that I talk about, I really focus on the fire, on her being in the fire and persevering through that. Like, even though the evil stepmother and stepsisters are like, you're not going, they're basically trying to steal her destiny. She calls upon supernatural favor. I see it as the Holy Spirit, and yet she makes her way into that place, into the castle, and she demands her happily ever after. And so, you can interpret it one way, or you can continue to princess bash, which is what they've always done. And now they want to get into the game. They want to take the identity of the princesses that they've been bashing and try to make their agenda, which is more similar to the evil that is told in these stories. It's not going to work. Deanna, as you, after you had your abortion and you were on stage and you're singing about someday my prince will come and everything else, and you know that the guy you thought was a prince is there working right there, that had to be mentally exhausting.
Glenn, I mean, it was grueling. It was devastating. The emotions swirling around in your mind, but I was, even at the age of 18, a professional, so I continued to dance and sing. But that was what, I realized I couldn't. It was just like this fake smile, and to try to push through your smiles and being the great Disney employee that I was. I mean, Disney to this day is one of my favorite places. I mean, we live right here. But, it was devastating, and that's why I ended up walking away from the castle, which, by the way, represented for me personally massive success because I always loved Cinderella's, story. And I had my own personal story as a child of really having struggles and believing these stories and the lyrics of the songs. And then so there I am leaving my dream place. But there was a happy ending. I went on to get married. I gave birth to 2 children. One, I ended up conceiving when I went back to Disney for the first time. And that was a miracle story. So God kept redeeming me and redeeming the story. And then I went on to adopt 5 children.
Wow.
One from Guatemala who was born to a 14-year-old girl. And if we had followed, Planned Parenthood's, list of who should or should not have kids, she would not have been born. Her mother was 14. 3 children who watched their mother die of AIDS, and then 1 child who was labeled invalid in the Ukraine.
Oh my God!
Just for his, and abandoned at 2 days old. And they were about to transfer him to a place where they told us that he would have been dead within 6 months had we not come when he was 5 years old about being transferred. So our lives have been redeemed, and I've learned through these experiences of persevering to adopt these children because it has not been easy. It's been a battle. And then parenting them and seeing what the orphan mindset has been like and teaching them about they can do anything and they can, rise to great places. So I've learned, I've been refined into, a strong woman of God. And yet I brought them to Disney to live near Disney because I wanted to live here so that they could hear those messages. So I want them to know that dreams can come true.
We're talking to Deanna Falchook. She was a former Disney princess that had an abortion. So she's exactly what Planned Parenthood is saying they're looking for, although I don't think that they would agree with that message. Real quick, Deanna, can you talk to the people who were like you that are confused and afraid and just kind of going down this path, and it's because you don't have a child when you're so young. You don't have a child when whatever gets you into the Planned Parenthood office. Can you speak directly to them?
Yeah. First off, I would just say that you're not alone and you don't feel isolated. Speak to somebody. There are many, pregnancy centers that want to help. But philosophically, I'd like them to understand and to really break down their thought process. And I would tell them that they have a sacred gift to create and never to underestimate the power of what gifts can be received by walking through the so-called mistakes or messes of your life. Move forward. Choose to make something beautiful from the unplanned and unexpected surprises that come into your life. They aren't always there to take you out. Sometimes they're there to refine you. Stand tall, walk through the fire, and you will come out on the other side sparkling bright in your predestined position, and probably enveloped with your miracle around you. And so I would just...
Go ahead. I would just say yes, and I would just move forward and choose life. Deanna, thank you so much. God bless.
Glenn Beck.
The Blaze Radio Network.